shed more light on possible scenarios of a Russian attack, we're joined by Mykhailo Samus, the director of the new Geopolitics Research Network. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Hello.
So first of all, what does the Ukrainian army look like in comparison with Russian troops at its borders, and does it stand any chance in a possible clash with the Russian Goliath?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of chances, of course, because the modern warfare, it's not looks like in 19th century or 20th century. Even we talking about it, for example, Russia collected, concentrated like more than 100,000 troops close to Ukraine. But anyway, the main thing is that technology is ability of Ukrainian command and state leadership and military leadership to make a fast decisions. So if we have fast decisions to organize our defense, we have all of possible chances to stop Russian aggression. Even it could be massive, or maybe it could be only tactical operations in some areas. So the critical element is a fast making decision process, because in 2014 we had absolutely opposite scenario when Ukrainian leadership couldn't make a decision for days and even weeks. And of course, it was a full open space for any Russian operations that time.
Now, if Russians do indeed decide to attack, where will it happen?
Again, it could be different directions, and especially on the different phases. Like cyber attacks could be, of course, the extraterritorial and could be have tasks to destroy the critical infrastructure and again the state and military chain of command to make command and control on the nation and armed forces and defense system. For example, missile phases could be again shoot from Belarus territory, when you know that now Russia and Belarus preparing for next huge exercise in Belarus territory, from occupied Crimea and from Russian territory, from all of possible directions actually surrounding Ukraine. Talking about the land force operations, it would depend on the successful of previous phases like missiles and aviation. And of course, first of all, it could be Kiev direction. It could be southern part of Ukraine by Marine Corps operations and landing force, air landing force operations from Crimea. And of course, Donbass, occupied Donbass is one of the easiest direction when Russian could try to make a big problem for Ukrainian armed forces, at least to try to put them on concentrating on the Donbass. In the same time, they try to make operations on the other directions.
Now, what is the most probable scenario? Because attacking Kiev and holding it for a long time is not an easy task.
Unfortunately not, because the main task for Russians now is not occupied Kiev. It means that they could try to use cyber attacks, information psychological warfare, and of course missile attacks to create a chaos and panic in Kharkiv, Kiev, Odessa, Zaporizhia, Dnipro. And it's cities with more than 1 million. In Kiev, it's 5 million people living there. So can you imagine the several millions of refugees going from eastern part of Ukraine to western part during the winter without heating, without food? It could be humanitarian catastrophe in Ukraine in this case. And for Russia, this is the best scenario, just to look at this and trying to make more and more house in case of the destroying of critical infrastructure and command and control on the nation and the armed forces. So after this, Russia will say that we are going to help our Ukrainian brothers. We are one nation, so let's make a humanitarian intervention. So the first stage to create chaos and panic in million cities, and after this trying to conduct humanitarian intervention. So they don't need actually make an like in 20th century surrounding Kiev and trying to occupy it.
So they only need a pretext. But as you explained it to me, I think you're talking about some sort of hybrid type operations, right? So there will be no open declaration of war.
It depends, but I think no. Russia will act as fast as possible without any proclamation or make some statements in United Nations. Of course, they will find the reason of these attacks, especially cyber attacks, especially some explanation of missile attacks against for example, general staff or office of president or some elements of state command and control system. They could say that, you know, we found that Ukrainian state leadership acting against Ukrainian people, and we are going to help them. Look at the Kazakhstan. They conducted very fast, very effective operation in several hours. Like several thousand of the soldiers were sent to several thousand of kilometers with several hours, and nobody could say anything because they created very hybrid reality, this closing all of news and information from the theater. I mean, the Almaty, for example, it was only some leaks with video, and in this case, they could say whatever they want to create a parallel reality, explaining why they doing these missile attacks or cyber attacks or even landing of forces in Ukrainian territories.
Now, some experts suggest that the most probable area of attack, would be invading the Donbas region, where well, most of the Ukrainians have already Russian passports as well. So that would be like annexing the territory that it's, well, in eyes of Moscow, partly already Russian.
Yeah, the occupied territories of Donbass, they already occupied in Ukraine. We officially understand that the military forces, Russian military forces deployed on occupied Donbass, they belongs to 8th Army with headquarters or in Novocherkassk, Russian 8th Army. So if we're talking about the Donbass, occupied Donbass, yeah, it's possible that they will, of course, add new forces to this area. But I think that the main task for these forces will be concentrate Ukrainian forces on this area in the same time that in parallel they will try to make, for example, Marine Corps operations on the southern part from the Crimea, occupied Crimea, or, for example, some attacks by special forces from Belarus territory or Kharkiv, Kiev, and these areas very close to Russian border. I can say that Kharkiv, it's a couple dozen kilometers from Russian border, and Kiev actually 200 kilometers from Russian border. It's not too far to organize some hybrid operations using proxy and other special forces operations, for example.
So you're talking about a full-scale military operation of war, basically.
Yeah, because
it's not about a minor incursion, as Joe Biden named it lately, but we're talking about war.
Yeah, because logic saying that it's not a 2014. Ukrainian armed forces is ready to fight. Ukrainian people is ready to fight. We have a territorial defense now already in kind of a process of concentration and mobilization. So it means that even in one small territory we will see Russian forces. It means that Ukraine will react strongly, and it means that Russia will next step will react on different directions to stop this defensive reaction. So it's impossible to imagine a scenario that Russia will enter Ukraine, occupy a couple of kilometers, and stop on this, because Ukraine will attack these offensive forces by Russians, and logic saying that it will be anyway full-scale scenario conflict, armed conflict.
Now, what did Joe Biden had in mind when he said that Vladimir Putin has to do something with all the troops at the Ukrainian border? So it's like there's no escape from the whole situation. That, well, the Russians just basically have to attack.
To be honest, if I would try to find my own explanation, not Joe Biden words, but actually, if I try to find a positive motivation for Putin to make these massive attacks against Ukraine, I couldn't find it because, as I understand, and it's logically that the main task for Putin to secure the resistance and stability of his own regime in Russia. And I think that it's pretty comfortable time now for Putin. He cleaned up all of opposition. He has a lot of money from oil and gas to give all of population enough to keep them from the protests. So I cannot understand why he should now attack Ukraine, and obviously has some problems inside of Russia, because Ukraine will make something on the territory of Russia, because we have Ukraine has special forces which could act on the territory of Russia. Nobody can guarantee that it won't be the same house and panic on the territory of Russia when Ukrainian special forces started to, for example, make some bad things on with electricity and food supply and other critical infrastructure in Russian Federation itself. And so I think, I hope that I understand the situation as Putin honestly trying to blackmail on a maximum level Western countries to try to sign some agreement to secure stability of own regime from external situation, from the to stop United States, for example, to have some impact on the internal situation in Russia, to secure stability of own regime for next several decades, as he's going to live a long time. So I hope that I understand situation properly. And for Putin, the full-scale operation against Ukraine is a kind of not the best scenario at all.
Let's hope it's true. Let's hope it's true. Mykhailo Samus, director of the new Geopolitics Research Network, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.